welcome to today's Money Chat Now interview. In this portion of the show, I take the opportunity to interview interesting people and introduce you to their products, their services, or just their good intentions. If you'd like to be a guest on my show, you can go to thelarrysteinhausshow.com/guest. That's thelarrysteinhausshow.com/guest, and let me know that you want to be interviewed. All right, let me tell you a little bit about today's guest. Today's guest is a parent, and he's a parent that cares about children and your children, his children and your children. He's been an outspoken objector to how our children have been treated for the past 2 years. He is an anti-mask freedom fighter and helped convince the school board to drop the child abuse. He currently is fighting the fight against critical race theory, and like many of us, believes critical race theory is one of the most racist and undermines the progress of both white and black children. Today, my guest has also decided to take his dedication and passion and make a run to try to unseat the current congressman for Bucks County. Let me introduce you to my guest, Alex Entin. Alex, thanks for coming. I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, so I have a question for you. Why the hell are you running?
Well, for me, I looked at what is going on in our country and I got very concerned. I'm a concerned parent and I'm a concerned citizen of the United States. I came here when I was 9 years old after fleeing from a communist regime which I lived under in Moldova. And when I see things that are going on here, I see a lot of similarities there. And because of that, I decided that I need to get involved because I don't want our children growing up in the type of environment that my family and I escaped from.
All right, so actually, I don't even know if you'd mind. I'd like to go back to those times. So you came here when you were 9, correct?
Yes.
So you were living, you're living there until you were 9 years old. I mean, what did it feel like being a child living there?
It was not easy. For example, you couldn't really go out and buy toys anytime you wanted. I would walk down the street with my mom, and if I saw a truck pull up that they were about to sell something, we would jump in line real quick, not knowing what they're selling, but to make sure we didn't miss out on it. So this is how we had to live because it was not a place where you can just walk into and just buy whatever you want. And so because of that, it was a very difficult and something that I had to get used to as I was growing up under the communist regime.
So is that normal there? Is that so? It's like everything there is done that way, where there are no stores, or are there stores and they're just limited? Explain to me, because when I was a kid, I would go into stores and my mother would say you can't have that. So I'm wondering if it was similar or if it was because you really just couldn't have it because you couldn't find it.
We couldn't find it, and that was the thing. When you walked into supermarkets, the shelves were bare, and it's not something you could just be, hey, I want this, and just buy it. If you wanted to buy anything in terms of big ticket items like furniture, you had to wait in the 2-year line, and if they called out your name afterwards in 2 years, you'll be able to purchase it if you were still in the market for it. That's how you bought things.
You did say 2 years, right?
Yes.
So I remember when I was a kid, I used to read articles, and it's funny that this came up recently, right? I used to read articles about toilet paper. I mean, would you have to wait at a 2-year line for toilet paper?
I don't remember about toilet paper, but I wouldn't be surprised. Granted, a lot of this I was shielded from by my family, so I didn't have to know about all the ins and outs of it, but definitely remember running into and jumping into lines when trucks or whatever would come up and something would be available to buy. We would just jump in line no matter what.
So how did the last 2 years look like to you compared to you living it's Moldova, right? Or Moldovia?
Yes.
Moldova or Moldovia?
Moldova.
Moldova. Okay. This is just I'm just geographically challenged. What can I tell you?
I don't believe you.
I know I'm here and I know you're over there. That's all I know. Okay. So Moldova. So how did the last 2 years look besides some of the I don't know. Well, you tell me. In your opinion, what did it look like to you?
Well, and obviously 2 years ago, as I'm sitting at the dining room table with my kids as they're taking classes on Zoom, I see a lot of similarities. And
well, obviously, and I got to start from it, but obviously, you didn't take classes on Zoom when you were 9.
The kids were taking classes.
No, but you weren't, right? But we're comparing, right? So you're comparing. You obviously you didn't take classes on Zoom. There wasn't any Zoom at that point. So why is that like? when you say they were on Zoom, why is it like what you were doing, or is it what they were what they were learning? Is that what you were concerned with?
Right, what they were learning,
Oh, okay, I got you.
as we were sitting in 2020 with my kids, I saw a lot of similarities to when I went to school under the communist regime, where I remember sitting one day in class and the teacher said, if I call out your name, please stand up. And so she proceeded to call out kids' names, and I was one of the kids who was called. After she was done, she turned to the rest of the class and said, class, please take a good look at the kids who are standing. They're Jewish. Now, because we couldn't practice religion, I didn't really know what Jewish meant. I come home to my mom. I'm like, Mom, what is this Jewish thing? She goes to me, don't worry about it. Go play with your toys. And as an 8-year-old, I forgot all about it until years later, realizing what happened. And so, again, bringing it back to 2020, as my kids are taking their classes during the COVID and on Zoom, I see very similar things, except instead of using religion, they're using race to divide kids. And that's when I got activated and started getting involved because, again, all these similarities are very concerning to me because I know the direction that this is all going.
So you are Jewish then?
I am.
Okay, so basically what you saw was, you saw complete suppression. You couldn't be spoken to. You couldn't tell people you were Jew. The teacher had you stand up. Do you remember? Like, did you feel embarrassed? Did you feel like, oh, you just didn't feel anything when that happened?
I stood there and couldn't understand why I was standing there. And obviously, when she called us out to be Jewish, I didn't know what that meant. So that was just, it was, and as an 8-year-old, you know, you process things differently, and
Sure.
you kind of went in one year and out the other. But I had the remembrance to come home to my family and say, hey, Mom, what is this Jewish thing that they called me? Because we could not, there was no synagogues, you couldn't practice religion at all.
Okay, so when this all happened, did other kids start to make fun of you, or it just went away and it was just that one day?
It was actually, that year was the year that I moved to the United States.
Okay, that's good.
Right, that following.
So your parents
few
escaped.
Months. We escaped. Right, we were lucky enough, and it's interesting because in Moldova, right before we were supposed to leave, they started making us learn Moldovan language. And so,
that's interesting.
Yeah, and so I'm sitting there, and they're trying to teach me this, and I decided to be the one who speaks out about it. And I said, listen, I get up, I'm like, I don't need to learn your stinking Moldovan. I'm moving to America. I'm going to learn English.
That's
Next
great.
thing that happened is my mother got a phone call, please come to the school, we need to talk to you. So obviously I could not say that again ever afterwards. So, but yeah, it was one of those fun moments.
So how are you comparing that to I guess it's critical race theory is what you're comparing that to, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Critical race theory, diversity, equity, inclusion, social emotional learning, all of it is the same thing, which is basically a cultural Marxist ideology that is meant to divide and hate one another.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I look at critical race theory, and I find it to be one of the most racist things ever. You basically you're telling a black child that he can't succeed because the white kid sitting next to you is going to hold him back. I think that's awful. So I have a problem with it for so many reasons. But besides that, what are your views on it?
I feel the same way you do. It's terrible because we're telling kids that they can never succeed, so don't even try because of your ethnicity, color, whatever. That should not be the case. Everybody has the opportunity to live the American dream as long as they put the effort in, go to school, get a good education. They can succeed. Why are we putting kids down before they even start or have the ability to? And then vice versa, telling the other kids you're bad just because of your color, of your skin. Again, kids don't look at each other by color or ethnicity. They look at each other as, hey, you're Bobby, you're Joey, you're Melissa, Michelle, whatever. Nobody looks at what your ethnicity is. They are not taught that. Why are we pushing that into the classrooms?
You know, I have an interesting story for you, and you'll appreciate this just because we're talking about this at the moment. I had moved to New Jersey from Brooklyn, and in Brooklyn, you know, it was very mixed. You know, and I moved to New Jersey, and of course, you know, moved into an all-white neighborhood. You know, it's not, and I'm going to say that it wasn't like we moved to an all-white neighborhood because we chose an all-white neighborhood. It just happened to be an all-white neighborhood. And a new kid moved into the block, and I really liked this kid. The kid was great. It was a lot of fun. And I decided to have a party, and I had a party, and I invited this kid. And it turned out that only 6 people came to my party. And it was very odd. And I'm like, I wonder why nobody came to my party. Do you know the answer?
No.
The kid was black.
Wow.
And that's why nobody came. And I was shocked. I was like, what do you mean? The guy's like the nicest guy ever. How could you do this to this guy? And, you know, and I ended up making having less friends after that. And, you know, obviously this, you know, we parted as friends. This kid and I parted as friends. It just wasn't, it just wasn't a friendship that lasted many years. It lasted for about a year or so. It just wasn't, you know, like any other relationship breaks down. But I was so shocked by the fact that people actually didn't come to my party because he was black. It blew my mind, actually. And I'm coming from Brooklyn, where I was mugged by black people. And I tell the story. It's actually on my website. I tell the story about this, and I didn't have anything bad about it. I just thought these were bad people. They weren't black people. You know. So anyway, I don't want to get, because I don't want to steal your thunder from you. But you reminded me of that story, and I just find it hard to believe that people continue with this. And then we have people trying to fix it, and they're breaking it worse by fixing it. It's horrible.
Right, and that's the whole point. We got to teach history, but we should not teach hate.
Right, exactly. So what was your whole thing with the masks? You know, I mean, you and I hadn't known each other. We met recently, and if you had looked up anything on me, I was so crazy about the masks. I actually put up a sign on Street Road that said "Masks don't work." Some people know that, some people don't. But you have kids in school,
yes,
and you were sending them to school wearing their mask after the Zoom classes stopped. And what was your take on that? How did you feel about it? What did you do with the school board about it?
I did not like it at all, and my kids were always complaining as well. I actually kept my kindergartner, who was supposed to go to a public kindergarten, actually stayed in private where they didn't have to wear masks, which was great. But my older ones had to. So I was going to the school board meetings, constantly speaking out about it, fighting the school board directors from being given the opportunity to remove the masks from the kids. And luckily, they were able to work with us, and they gave us the opportunity to make a choice. The parents have a choice of what they want to do, whether they want to send their kids in with a mask or not. And that's all we wanted, is for everybody to have a choice. You can't mandate it on everybody. If you want to send your kid with a mask, that's fine, but that decision should be up to the parents.
So I used to say, and I don't even know if I'm saying it jokingly, but I was really glad that my kids weren't going to school right now, because I probably would have ended up in jail. That's how I felt about it. In fact, I didn't fly. I didn't fly for the last 2 years. I'm actually getting on a plane for the first time in 2 years, in 2 weeks, because I actually felt that I was going to have a problem where, believe it or not, I felt that I was going to be thrown off a plane. So that would have been a problem too. You know what I mean?
That would have been a big problem.
Yeah. So I actually thought I was going to be one of those people who was going to be banned for life on a plane. But of course, I made sure that I that I didn't fly because I was so afraid.
Right.
So all right. So now I have a question for you. So you're running for District 1, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What does that mean?
So District 1 encompasses all of Bucks County and part of Montgomery County that is adjacent to the Bucks County on the northeast side of the county of Montgomery.
Okay, so it's congressman, right?
Congress, correct.
So what would your role be as congressman for District 1, and who would you represent?
So although I would represent the people of District 1, I would really be representing everybody in the state, in the United States of America, because when legislation gets made on the federal level, it actually affects everyone. And so although my constituents, the people who vote me in, are the people of Pennsylvania's 1st Congressional District, my voting and the way I put forward legislation will affect everyone in the whole United States.
Okay, so what would be some of the things that you would be pushing for to try to help everyone in the United States?
Well, everybody has the same kitchen table issues right now. That's the economy, the inflation, and immigration. And the way you resolve it is you got to bring manufacturing back to the United States, because that'll create great jobs. It will fix supply chain issues. It will also give the opportunity to fix the inflation that we currently have, because our economy will start growing again. Also, we got to be energy independent. We got to go back to being energy independent. Actually, Pennsylvania alone is the Saudi Arabia of natural gas.
Right? Yeah.
We have enough natural gas to actually export it out to Europe, so they don't have to buy it from anyone else. That's how much natural gas Pennsylvania actually has. And it will create, again, amazing number of jobs, which will improve the economy and everything else. The border is the other thing with immigration. That has to be resolved. We have to finish the border wall. We have to fund our border agents. And what we also need to do is label the cartels as terrorist organizations.
Absolutely true. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I'm going to ask you a very pointed question. So be prepared for it. I'm going to make you nervous, I promise.
I'm ready.
All right, we'll be back in a minute.
Okay, so you've thought about investing in real estate, houses, apartment buildings, properties, but don't really know where to start? Well, what if you could very easily learn how to gain strategies to use other people's money to buy and sell houses in the Philadelphia area? If you could learn and network with successful area real estate investors and how to produce monthly income on rental properties without headaches, that place is Investor Schooling. With Investor Schooling, you'll learn from two Philadelphia area rockstar real estate investors, Phil Falcone and Larry Steinhaus, about how to buy and sell properties the easy way and teach you basic and advanced techniques to help you make money in real estate. You can attend Investor Schooling in person or online visual classes 8 times a month. You can and will learn how to make money in real estate. Call for free information and get a complimentary pass to one of these classes. But don't delay, as these complimentary passes are limited. Call the number on your screen now or visit investorschooling.com. investorschooling.com.
I'm your host, Larry Steinhaus, and of course, we are in the middle of the interview with the great Alex Entin. I'm very excited to be interviewing Alex Entin, and we're going to be talking about it. I promised you I was going to ask Alex a very important question. So here I go. Alex, are you ready?
Ready.
Are you a Russian spy?
No, I am not. I am not a Russian spy.
Well, I don't know. When I do a search on who is Alex Entin, I come up with a website, and it looks like this one. It actually looks like it has you with the sickle and hammer, with a flag, with your face on it, and it has some other name with you, Alexandry Kachanov. Is that right?
Yes.
So help me explain this website. Now, I realize you can't see it right now because we don't have it in front of you, but who is Alexandry Kachanov?
Sure. So when I came to the United States, my legal name was Alexander Kachanov. And what happened was my mom remarried, and my grandfather was a father figure to me. And so he helped with me growing up and everything else. And I very much looked up to him. And so when we were becoming citizens, I had the opportunity to change my last name. And so I took his last name, which is my mother's maiden name. That's how I became Alex Entin. So that's where Kachanov to Entin happened. That's it. Plus, now I don't have to use...
It's easier to spell, right?
Oh, I don't have to use the whole alphabet to spell my last name anymore. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. So we all know who put this website up. In fact, at the bottom of the website, I'm going to tell you who put it up. It says, paid for by Brian Fitzpatrick. Now, I realize you're going against Brian Fitzpatrick, and I got to be... Most of the time, I really wouldn't find it... I don't know, profitable to talk about the competitor. But in this case, he is so mean to you. I don't get this. I mean, let him talk about his issues. You talk about your issues, and let's make it peace, right? But no, instead he has to come in here and make you. I mean, the things he says about you are horrible. It's really, really, it's unnecessary. And in fact, even if I like, I don't. Right, let me give you my view. I didn't mind Brian Fitzpatrick. I mean, I realize that he's not a real Republican. He's what everybody calls a rhino. And he's not the greatest guy to represent us. When you sit here and you talk, you are exactly what I'm looking for if I'm looking for a candidate. But why this guy has to come against you so hard? I mean, does he even know you?
He does not know me at all. And what's interesting is I'm not even from Russia. I'm from Moldova. And I came here when I was 9 years old. So I don't know. I guess I've been infiltrating since I was 9.
Yeah, that's why I said I wanted to know if you were a Russian spy. Could we activate you now? Is
right.
that so? We have to push your American flag button, and then your Russian spyism comes out.
Right, exactly.
So what are you going to do better for us than Fitzpatrick is doing?
The thing is with Brian is that when they say we passed a bipartisan bill that Pelosi passes, it's Fitzpatrick who's the bipartisan. That's why we have a bipartisan bill, because Brian Fitzpatrick is the bipartisan in the bill.
That's
funny. It's terrible. He votes for all the leftist agenda, and at a time right now where everything is going in the wrong direction, he's actually helping him keep going in that direction. So the economy, the inflation, immigration, all of it is based on the fact that he's helping them get their agenda through. between voting for Pelosi's Equality Act, which allows biological boys into girls' bathroom, into their locker room, competing in girls' sports, to Pelosi's and Biden's Green New Deal Part 1 labeled as infrastructure law, which is basically Green New Deal, social justice, and our dependence on China for electrical vehicle batteries. All of it is thanks to him for that being passed, for what Pelosi and Biden are trying to get through legislation. So it's terrible. So we need to get back to having someone in Congress who shares our values and beliefs, who wants to make America move in the right direction, because if the lights go out here, they go out everywhere. And like I always tell everybody, I moved to the first best country in the world, not a second best. There's nowhere else to go from here.
Very
so
good.
That's why I'm so about fighting for it.
I love that. That was fantastic. Hey, listen, everybody out there, take that as a soundbite, because I thought that was the greatest. That was the greatest thing you could have ever said. It actually gave me chills. So congratulations. That was awesome, man. All right.
Thank
So the other thing I've noticed about this guy, and again, just run a fair race. There's a lot of things going on about him taking down your signs.
Yes.
What happened with that? What's going on with that? Now, he did that with Andy Meehan, too. So when he ran against Andy Meehan, he used to put his signs right in front of Andy Meehan's signs. I mean, come on, let's have a little bit of respect for each other and run a fair race. But now I understand he actually pulled your signs. Is that correct? Or he had somebody who pulled your signs?
Yes. So in a single day, we lost almost 100 signs in one day. I had a retired gentleman who spent the whole morning putting up signs. That same afternoon, he put up almost 100 signs, and almost all of them were gone that same afternoon.
So, and then you had, actually, I saw a video where you had somebody following him.
So, interestingly enough, somebody actually caught him stealing the signs and videotaped it, and you can find it on my website and on my Facebook page, Alex Entin for U.S. Congress, Facebook, or electentin.com. You can see the video for yourself. You can't make this stuff up.
No, yeah, it's heartbreaking. It's ridiculous. It's totally unnecessary. I mean, I'm actually thinking about getting, he's got the big signs that say so and so, endorsed him. I feel like putting a big sign that says that I'm putting it in front of it and saying elect Entin, just because I'm annoyed at the fact that the guy does this. It's unnecessary. It's not.
Right.
It's not how you do it. I mean, you want to say. I mean, look, you've been here, and I've been goading you, and you've been a perfect gentleman. So you're a perfect gentleman to how your competition is responding to you, or how he's putting you down. And you could be a gentleman. Why can't he be a gentleman? I don't understand it, but I'm allowed to say he's a nasty SOB. You don't have to say it if you don't want to. You could say it under your breath. But you're smart enough not to do that. And maybe if he would only have half a brain, he'd be smart enough to not do it as well. And I don't get it at all.
I don't get it at all. At least, at the very least, if you're going to do a hit piece like that, at least hire somebody who doesn't do it like a first grader. That hit piece was terrible looking. And on top of it, how terrible it is to say that I don't support Ukraine when my wife and her whole family is from Ukraine. Yeah. To say that is despicable and disgusting. If anything, I deserve a public apology from him right away and removal of that ad off all the places where he has placed it. It's ridiculous to even suggest that my heart that I don't support the people of Ukraine is just terrible.
Yeah, and so I have relatives a long time ago who escaped from Russia, escaped from Germany, same thing, and it's the same thing. I mean, how could he do that? It's insulting, and it's insulting in a different way. It's actually like, I don't know. It actually like puts a knife in your heart when you hear that you're being called a Nazi,
right?
When you're a Jew. I mean,
right.
It's like it's like. It's like Putin saying to Zelensky, "We're trying to clear the Nazis from your country." I mean, come on, really? I mean, and look, there is some shady things going on over there, and I don't want to get into that because it's a whole other issue. But don't say, if you're Putin, don't say you're going to clear the Nazis from a Jewish president's country. It's just a wrong thing to say. And in this case, it's the same thing with you. You're a Jew. You're an upstanding citizen. You didn't even want to get into this fight. You got into this fight because you didn't like what was going on with your children. You didn't like what was going on with the school, and that's admirable. So let him be admirable. Let him be honest, and let him treat you like a candidate instead of treating you like a second-class citizen.
Right. And what's more interesting is that this ad is literally taken right out of the DNC playbook. And so he's following suit, following exactly what the Democratic Party does and did to Trump and everything else. So now he's doing it to, a Republican candidate. It's despicable.
Yeah, it's very, very sad. It's very, very sad. I look at it and I actually it actually upsets me when I see things like that. All right, so what else about you would make you the perfect candidate for Bucks County, for Montgomery County, and for District 1?
Sure. I have a lot of experience in finance. I have my undergraduate degree in finance. I have my MBA in finance. So I can bring a lot of that to Washington, so that way we can start balancing our budget, which hasn't been balanced in forever. We have almost $30 trillion of debt that we have to start working on. We can't just keep printing money and expecting everything to be okay.
Right.
And that's partially why we are where we are. And again, Brian Fitzpatrick has just voted for the infrastructure law, which gave us an additional $1.2 trillion of expenses.
Where does all that money come from?
And listen, the printer, I just need to know where I can get one.
I tell you, but they printed it for us too. I mean, we had SBA loans, we had EIDL loans. I mean, I got them. I needed them for my business to keep myself afloat. But how did they? I mean, I'm sure you're not even close to figuring this out yet, and hopefully you will be able to. I don't think anybody in office has been able to figure out where this money's coming from. It makes absolutely no sense.
No sense. Between, Federal Reserve, all of it getting printed, I would love to find out how this all works.
Yeah, I got my hands on some of it. I don't know if you did, if you're in business or not. I don't know if anybody out there did, but at the same time, it's mind-boggling. And then we add the inflation to it because of it. We had people spending money and doing things that they didn't normally do, and now we have that issue. It's wild. I'm blown away by it. As a finance guy, an expert in financial literacy, this stuff blows my mind. I mean, we also saw, and we saw the contracts. So I'm a landlord. I own a bunch of properties, and we saw the contracts that I had with my tenants being void because they decided that we weren't going to allow evictions. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that blows my mind, and how this country has become a socialist country, which you now understand. Oh, you fully understand because you lived it.
Right, and it's terrible. And all these things that they're putting in place between vaccine mandates.
Yeah.
I mean, that reminds me back to 1930s Nazi Germany when the Jews had to wear a patch on their shoulder, and basically if you were wearing a patch, you lost your job, lost your home, and ended up in a concentration camp. Just same thing with the patch.
I was waiting for the patches that had a V on it for the vaccine.
Right.
All right, Alex, we got about 30 seconds. We're going to put up your banner that says Elect Entin. How could people find out about you?
Go to my website, electentin.com, or follow me on Facebook at Alex Entin for U.S. Congress. I'm on Twitter at Alex Entin for PA. And hopefully you can learn more about me, get to know me, and if the message resonates with you, please come and support us.
Awesome. All right, I want to thank you all for watching the show. My name is Larry Steinhaus, and I am the host of Money Chat Now. Money Chat Now is live every morning at 7:30 a.m. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And if you'd like to be a guest on our show, you can go to thelarrysteinhausshow.com/guest, thelarrysteinhausshow.com/guest. Fill out the form and let us know why you want to be interviewed. That's it. We'll talk to you guys soon. Make it a profitable day.